Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly excited we're diving into this today, because we're about to completely flip the script on something you probably thought you had totally figured out. If you're interested in the frontier of human consciousness, you've likely spent a whole lot of time thinking about the brain, right? But today, our main goal is to completely shift how you understand the way psychedelics actually interact with human biology. We are moving out of the head and straight into the body.
Think about this for just a second. When you get really nervous, where do you actually feel it? You don't feel it up in your prefrontal cortex, do you? No, you get butterflies. You have a gut feeling. You literally feel sick to your stomach with dread. Okay, let's dive into this because we talk about psychedelics as if they happen entirely behind our eyes, like a purely neurological head-in-the-clouds kind of phenomenon. Well, we're about to shatter that assumption completely. The actual frontier of psychedelic science is quietly moving downward, from the cortex all the way to the colon.
To understand exactly why, this brings us to Section 1, the serotonin surprise.
And what's truly wild here is just the sheer undeniable math of our biology. We always associate serotonin with mood, happiness, and the brain, right? But the shocking reality is that roughly 90 to 95% of the serotonin in your entire body is manufactured and stored in your gastrointestinal tract, not your brain. Almost all of the exact chemical that psychedelics act upon is sitting right there in your gut.
This just completely rewrites the basic assumptions. See, classic psychedelics, like psilocybin, they work by activating serotonin receptors, specifically the 5-HT2A receptor. We usually picture that little lock and key mechanism happening way up in the cortex. But because serotonin receptors line the gut as densely as anywhere else, when you take oral psilocybin, it doesn't just politely skip past your stomach on its way up to your head. It actually bathes your belly in a really potent signal that your digestive tract is exquisitely tuned to receive, long before it ever even reaches your brain.
So, what exactly is waiting down there? Let's get into Section 2, your second brain.
100 million. I really want that massive number to just sink in for a second. There are roughly 100 million neurons intricately woven directly into the wall of your gut, stretching from your esophagus all the way down. To put that into perspective, that is significantly more neurons than you have in your entire spinal cord. Your gut is quite literally buzzing with intelligence.
This absolutely massive neural network, it's called the enteric nervous system. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why scientists have started nicknaming it our second brain. It doesn't even need instructions from the head to do its job. It senses stretch, it senses chemistry, it releases neurotransmitters, and it orchestrates digestion almost entirely on its own. It's a highly independent feeling organ that uses that massive 95% reservoir of serotonin to constantly communicate. But how does the mind actually hear all this? Well, let's map it out in Section 3, the vagus superhighway.
Let's actually see how this builds, step by step. This whole communication system relies heavily on the vagus nerve. Think of it like a massive, wandering physical cable that hooks your gut straight up to your brainstem. And here is the truly fascinating part. It is primarily a bottom-up road. The vast majority of its fibers are dedicated strictly to carrying information from your body up to your brain, not the other way around.
This bottom-up pathway is so incredibly powerful that, believe it or not, electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve is an FDA-approved treatment for hard-to-treat depression right now. So the emerging cutting-edge hypothesis in psychedelic science is kind of like this. A psychedelic activates those dense serotonin receptors down in the gut, which then sends a literal wave of electricity up the vagus nerve, which ultimately nudges the exact mood circuits in the brain that psychedelic therapy aims to reach in the first place. Basically, the trip might physically start in the gut, and the brain is really just interpreting the echoes.
But it actually gets even deeper, and honestly, a little bit weirder as we enter Section 4, the psilocybin rhiasomes.
You've got trillions of bacteria living in your gut, making up your microbiome. And these microbes aren't incredibly busy. They actively help regulate how much serotonin your gut produces. Researchers are now looking at an intersection they're calling the psilocybiome. They found that specific populations of gut bacteria are directly associated with the density of those 5-HT2A receptors we talked about. This totally reframes the body. It isn't just some passive vessel holding the medicine. It's a highly active biological participant in the whole experience. So the really crucial point here is that this might actually answer one of the oldest mysteries in psychedelic culture. You know, you and a friend could take the exact same dose from the exact same batch in the exact same room. One of you melts into this profound mystical experience, and the other feels almost nothing at all. Why? Well, your microbiome is as individual as a fingerprint. Your unique inner ecosystem, those specific bacteria living in your gut, might be actively tuning the density of your receptors and shaping the entire intensity of the trip from within.
Now, let's bring this high-concept biology back down to earth for a minute in Section 5, the meaning of nausea. If you spent any time exploring these medicines, you definitely know these symptoms, those anxious pre-trip butterflies, the churning, heavy stomach, or ayahuasca's notorious la purga, the purge. For a super long time, Western science just brushed these off as annoying side effects, like a minor physiological toll you just had to pay to get to the real experience up in your mind. But looking through the lens of the gut-brain axis, we realize these aren't side effects at all. This is literally your second brain lighting up with massive serotonin activity.
It's honestly a profound realization. Nausea is not some annoying interruption to the journey. It is literally the body registering the medicine. Traditional indigenous cultures have actually known this for centuries. They've always viewed the purge as a deeply meaningful physical and spiritual cleansing. And now, modern gut-brain science is essentially giving that ancient intuition a physiological spine. The belly is responding before the visions even begin.
So, what does all of this mean for the future of mental health? Let's take a look at Section 6, the bottom-up frontier.
Just look at the direct biological overlap here. A disrupted gut microbiome, which we call dysbiosis, actually drives low-grade inflammation throughout your whole body, and we now know for a fact that chronic inflammation is firmly linked to mental health crises. Look at those target conditions: depression, anxiety, addiction, anorexia. These are the exact psychological conditions that psilocybin is currently being trialed to treat. If psychedelics can calm inflammatory signaling in the gut and retune that vagus nerve, then the profound psychological healing we see in trials might actually be happening entirely from the bottom up.
Now, as we always do in this explainer, we've got to maintain absolute scientific credibility. So let's be real about the honest limits of where this research is right now. A lot of this is still early, hypothesis stage science. It's heavily supported by known biology and animal studies for sure, but we are still waiting on completely clean causal human trials. Most importantly, I want to make this crystal clear. While 95% of your serotonin is in your gut, it does not physically cross the blood-brain barrier, okay? Gut serotonin and brain serotonin exist in totally separate pools. The gut doesn't flood the brain with serotonin. Rather, it signals the brain electrically via the vagus nerve and immune pathways.
But even keeping those scientific caveats in place, man, the paradigm has undeniably shifted. To really summarize the core thesis we've been exploring today, the picture of a psychedelic as a purely head phenomenon is almost certainly incomplete. The medicine, like us, has a body. We literally can no longer ignore the 100 million neurons in our stomach if we genuinely want to understand how these compounds heal us.
Which leaves us with this final, super provocative thought. If a profound psychedelic journey is partly just the mind listening to the chemical signals of the body, what else is your second brain trying to tell you right now, every single day? I'm betting the next time you get a gut feeling, you might want to pay very close attention. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time as we continue to decode the fascinating biology of the human experience.